Well, welcome. This is the newspaper review segment here on the AM show. And if you're just waking up, well, good morning to you. If you're just joining the show like me, then you're welcome. My name is Enima Animado, and I do this with Israel Lai every morning.
Sorry, I had to truncate the news the way it did.
Yeah. So this morning, I'm going to start with the Ghanaian Times, should I? So front page of the Ghanaian Times, Comenda Sugar Factory work starts next year. That's according to the president.
So I was optimistic that the president was going to say something about Comenda, and he has.
Yeah, okay. Let's just wait and see now, because it's you don't want to get excited.
Yeah, it's yet another promise.
It's just another promise. Yeah.
We've heard, them say, we have the president say, okay, it's going to stop, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So yeah, here again, it's going to happen. So we'll see. Yeah,
so we'll see how that goes. We had that conversation yesterday.
Yeah. What we're interested in, and as I keep saying, as I was saying yesterday, is for the factory to work. Or if the factory is not going to work and we're going to cut our losses, we should, because whatever loan we took for this factory, we have to pay for it.
We have to service it. And also the fact that there are actually a lot of people who are planning their lives, based on this factory starting to work, So people are planning their lives based on getting employment, on supplying, and they've been planning their lives for the past 2-3 years, hoping that work will start so that they can get into it. But let me just go through the story a little bit. It's on page 16 of the Ghanaian Times. The President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has started the government's resolve for the effective and efficient operationalization of the Comenda Sugar Factory. Sigh. By the first quarter of 2022. He explained that as a leader of the nation, his administration would ensure that the nation's resources were well managed. He said a technical partner would be selected to ensure the opening of the factory that had generated some comments from former President John Mahama. Okay, so we know that he's on tour. He also said that the strategic partner appointed to work towards the operationalization of the Comenda Sugar Factory could not meet the condition set out by the Ministry of Trade and Industry in that area. He said that he wouldn't look on unconcerned because a lot of money has gone into construction the factory, and so that shouldn't go down the drain. And he's appreciative of the work, Okay. So basically, they had terms and conditions or whatever. They were hopeful that by October, everything would be sorted out and we'll be moving into it. The people that they were hoping, I think it was Indians, they were hoping would come and run it, couldn't meet the terms that they wanted, the government wanted, and so they decided to let it go. I think the thing that is really annoying about this story is why it had to be reactive. You know what I mean? The story is reactive, and sometimes when something is reactive, it kind of loses a bit of credibility, because then you're wondering, are you just saying this now because this person said it? Yeah. Would you have said it anyway? I think that what would have been good is when this happened, a statement should have been released and said, we said we were going to do this. This is what has happened, and so we're working towards that. That's how you gain confidence with people, by being upfront and speaking up about the things, not waiting until, we do it on the AM show, or, ex-President John Mahama pokes you. Then now, suddenly timelines have moved to March 2022. Doesn't even, anyways, it is what it is. But it's a gentle reminder of the president speaking in 2018 on this issue.
We can grow here. All those things were not properly organized. I think our organization, and also the between strategic investor, and also it to be about Roba Bisomu. Nanche, over TBB Papa Freemanum.
Well, contrary to what you said, President Akufo-Addo, it is kind of taken a long time, 3 years on. Anyway, so we will believe it when we see. Let's just be on the safe side and be doubting Thomases, shall we? Other stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Times: 15 QNet officials remanded in police custody in Koforidua. GHS alarmed at increase in hypertension, diabetes in Greater Accra region. So, again, let me actually just go through the story real quick. There's some research has come out about the fact that we have a lot of non-communicable non-communicable diseases in the country. So the acting programs manager of the NCD's control program, Dr. Ifa Kome, said from 2019 till date, over 29,000 cases of hypertension had been recorded within the city, and diabetes, 4,200 in 2019. And as of September this year, 330 have been reported. So they're looking to hit about 4,000 cases of diabetes by the end of this year. Now, the thing about hypertension, diabetes, and these things are, kind of, you get them and it's lifelong management, and it's quite expensive. And they're completely avoidable as well, because they're lifestyle, as it were, diseases, So I think it also speaks to our lifestyles, not having enough time to cook properly, eat properly, exercise, all of that. So anyway, 2 robbers jailed 12 years. Police investigate death of 1-year-old baby. Western region records 91 road accident deaths. Okay, make communities accessible to people with disabilities. That's interesting, the disability conversation and how accessible our buildings and everything is to the disabled. Road safety agencies remove killer lamps from 1,418 vehicles. So there's currently a live presenter mention that's going on from the Road Safety Authority about the fact that they're going on this embarking to remove, these extra lamps and extra lights that people put on their cars. And the problem with these extra lights and stuff is that, if you want to beautify your car or whatever, that's up to you. But at night, when you're driving with these extra lights, it's blinding for oncoming vehicles, So the person driving in the opposite direction is so blinded by your light that they cannot see at all. And so it's increasing.
And they could crash into you.
They what?
They could crash into you.
Yes, exactly.
If you blind them.
They'll cry, because, it's happened to me a few times where you almost literally have to cover your face, or look away. And you're driving, you don't want to be looking away. So good work there, the National Road Safety Commission. Okay, Christians discuss integration of museum biblical gardens into the National Cathedral. Okay. I'm not going to talk about that. Okay. Denial of MPs' visas by embassies should prompt them to develop the country. That's interesting. So Dr. Poku Edu said, the head of legal services at the NCA, has postulated that the alleged denial of visas to members of parliament by some embassies should push them towards making the country self-sufficient. Of course, this has to do with the LGBTQI plus bill, and the allegation that some embassies are not granting visas to high-ranking government officials because of the push for the anti-gay.
But essentially, they're supposedly targeting MPs.
Yes.
Who have stated their
anti-gay positions. Yeah. So they're like, okay, if you don't vote for this, then you can't travel to our country. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just say, well, sod off, we'll stay in our own country. But we're not there yet, We still have to go and shop for our children every year because we're not really producing clothes at the quantity that we would like. Why are you looking at my face like that? People travel to the UK, for example, to go to Primark to shop for their children for the next 2 years. Because a T-shirt at Primark is what, $1.99, $2.99. We're not producing that in Ghana.
You shop for your kids, you go.
I don't. I'm not a higher. I go to Medina Market, please. Don't come and stress me out this morning. We the masses, we go to Medina Market and devastation. So yeah, 6 is. I don't agree with it. I think it's strong arming. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong because you should not, where we have our sovereignty, so you want to influence whatever, but you can't strong arm. But in a way, I want to say it is good for us too, because we cannot be in a position where we are being held to ransom, so that you can travel, because you won't do, you can live in the US, for example, and never go outside of your country.
True.
And experience everything that the world has to offer. Well, we won't do that here. We won't clean up our beaches. We won't get the Commander Sugar Factory running. We won't produce our own clothes. We won't produce our own chewing gum. We won't eat our own rice. We won't.
So you're right on both fronts.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we're supposed to take care of our country. But yeah, we also should feel free to travel and go and shop at Primark in the UK.
Yeah, we should. But anyway, 499 aggrieved failed law exam candidates call on president and others to intervene. I'm not going to talk about this one because it's just Something else that I don't understand about this country. Jehovah Witnesses kick against homosexuality. HTH. This is very interesting. The whole teaching hospital has given the assurance that, okay, the headline, let me start with the headline, is HTH to investigate nurses' verbal abuse on patients. The whole teaching hospital has given the assurance that the recent reports of cases of verbal abuse of patients by some nurses at the facility would be investigated to the fullest degree. Let me just take a minute and talk about verbal abuse from nurses.
Okay.
There are some really great nurses out there. Really great nurses. No doubt about that. I don't know whether nurses understand that their job is a calling and that you're dealing with sick people. Because some of them are just downright rude.
Okay. So clearly, it's not all the nurses who see it as a calling.
Yeah, well, yeah, clearly. But even when you're dealing with sick people, there's no reason why you should be rude. And the verbal abuse, and there's a certain mindset around this country when it comes to our healthcare system. Maybe not for people like you and I.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you know how maybe you and I will go to private hospitals or whatever. And obviously if you see Israel, you're not going to, talk smack, right? You're going to behave properly. But the average Ghanaian goes into a place. So many times I've met people who've gone to the hospital and come back with a bag full of medicine. And I'm like, so what medicine do they give you and what is it for? I don't know. They've given me the medicine. I'm just going to take it. Are you mad?
Okay.
How do you not ask questions? But I realize that sometimes it's the way that the healthcare professionals respond to some of these questions. Because I've experienced it before, where I've gone to hospital and I'm asking, you're giving me this, you're giving me this, you're giving me this. What are you giving me this for? Well, this is the medicine that we give for this. Like, did you go to school for 7-8 years to come and tell me such an answer? Like, this is the medicine we give for this. So I asked him that who paid his school
fee? From the doctor.
Sorry?
The doctor is the one supposed to tell you.
Yeah, well, I'm blasting the doctors. Let me come back to the nurses, who are just sometimes, rude, especially when women are in labor. I can't, the number of times we've carried stories of, how women are treated when they're in labor by some, and I know if you don't push, the baby will die. But I mean, come on, let's be reasonable. Like, I wonder if they teach bedside manner, when they're doing these courses. Like in London, there's a whole semester, I think it's even 2 semesters, where they teach you like just bedside manner, the psychology of your patients, and how much your care and attention and kindness goes to making someone feel better. Because sometimes, some of the issues that you go to the hospital with are psychosomatic. And so there's something going on in your mind and is manifesting in your body. And just the kindness and all of that kind of just puts you back together. And your sense of home, with go and rest and relax. But then you come and then it's like the nurses, their ancestors, their grandfathers, everybody is just coming.
You should just go back into nursing.
So let's move on to page 28. GTA pleads for exemption
There's
from...
a patient out there waiting to be blessed by
There's my fans waiting to be blessed by me in the morning. Hey, this morning I've talked, Papa, 6:50. It's okay, I won't do it again. Wait. Hearts will clear Widad. Is it Widad or Widad? Widad hurdle. Okay, and finally on the back page, Garu women demand equal access to agri flagship programs and give women fertile lands to farm. And here ends my lamentations for this morning. Yes, I've outdone myself. It's 6:50. I'll say it before you say it.
Okay, it's okay. So let's get on with the Daily Graphic now. In the front page, we have unemployment biggest challenge, needs swift action. That's a TUC saying that. So the Trade Union Congress has observed that with an estimated 400,000 new entrants to the labor market annually, the unemployment and employment situation remains the greatest challenge in the country. It corroborated the position of analysts who have said that joblessness among young people in the country is a time bomb which is bound to explode in a matter of time if nothing immediate is done about it. All right. And that's very clear. Moving on, ECOWAS delegation visits Mali on elections. Neves wins Cape Verde election. And Gbagbo launches new political party. So former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo has launched a new political party he hopes will return him to the presidency. Okay, that's cool. EU exports over 1 billion COVID-19 vaccines. And we'll be talking about that. So we've heard the vaccines that have been donated to Ghana, and we want to find out what's the status of that, how far with the vaccine rollout, COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Colin Powell dies, so tributes are being paid to former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell, who died of COVID-19 complications aged 84. Floods killed 26 in India, and Myanmar to release 5,000 prisoners held over coup. Let's go to page 16. Sword cutting for Cape Coast Airport next year. That's President Akufo-Addo saying that. So he said that sword will be cut for the Cape Coast Airport project by the end of March next year. But I mean, he also indicated in that same interview, so he was having an interview at Eagle FM, and he stated that as for the Commander Sugar Factory, you can expect that to be running first quarter 2022. And then as for the harbour there, says, I never said I was going to build a harbour in Cape Coast. I said I was going to build a landing site, he said. And compulsory towing policy to come on stream. That story is on the front page, and the story itself is on page 16. It says the government will, by the amendment of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012, introduce a new compulsory towing service policy for all drivers and vehicle owners as part of efforts to stem the recent spate of road crashes in the country. The proposed amendment of Section 102, subsection 3 of the Road Traffic Regulations will compel owners of motor vehicles or trailers to subscribe to the services and terms of conditions of a towing service provider or an insurance company, which will be responsible for the immediate removal of the motor vehicle or trailer whenever it breaks down on the road. Okay, so the towing service, compulsory towing service, is coming, well, albeit a little varied. Dufour in politics, Dufour best hope for NDC. That's the Action Movement saying that. And we move on to page 18. MPP opposes LGBTQI+. That's John Bwedu saying that. That's the MPP will not support the activities of the LGBTQI+ community. And another story, we're indebted to you, Mahama to Volta. And he says, quote, when we came into office, the Volta region did not have any public university. Any child that wanted to go to the university had to leave the Volta region to Cape Coast or to Kumasi or to Legon. And scrap taxes on fuel to alleviate economic hardship. That's the NDC saying that. And they're saying the cascading effect of these draconian tax measures have, among other things, led to an escalation in the prices of fuel products, transport fares, building materials, food products, and other commodities on the market. There's also this other interesting story here on page 19 of the Daily Graphic. Stop demanding money from politicians to curb corruption. Chairman Sambonso appeals to Ghanaians. So the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Osei Sambonso, has appealed to Ghanaians to stop demanding money and other resources from politicians to help curb corruption among the political class. He said, requesting money from politicians, especially during elections, compel them to use dubious means to recoup what they had spent to be elected as members of parliament or ministers of state. Okay, so now you know, those who have been demanding money from politicians are the reason why we have corruption.
I see. That's not even fair. I think that people ask for money from politicians mainly because they feel like they want to get some of what the politicians are getting anyway. I mean, but obviously, if your MP or your mayor is, sitting on the tube with you in the morning or riding his bicycle to work, you're not going to ask him for money, are you?
No.
But, the level at which we see, it's funny. It's just, like focus on fixing your things and stop coming.
Cocoa farmers' pension starts this month. Okay, farmers registered on Cocoa Bot's cocoa management system are allowed to join anytime they wish, but must contribute for a minimum of 5 years to qualify them to benefit from the scheme. Let's go to the center spread projects and the Ghana-Germany agreement begins.
Oh, okay. So this is from when the president went to Germany?
Not sure. So the implementation of €100 million bilateral cooperation agreement between Ghana and Germany has commenced. Okay, yes, I would want to believe that. And the public advice to ensure safety of foods. The public has a greater responsibility to ensure that foods they consume are safe as the Food and Drug Authority continues to monitor standards.
That's funny.
Release of information mandatory.
How are they monitoring the standards? I want to know.
Well, they do market surveillance every now and then.
Yeah, but what about those who sell food by the roadside? The wache joints, the yoke gari, the woman who carries wache on her head and walks around, yoke gari,
I'm not sure they have what it takes to check all of that.
Okay, all right then.
So
I guess the onus is
you have
on
to check yourself.
Okay. How do you check?
Well, if you have it and you run or you
that's post facto checking.
You avoid.
I see. Okay.
All right, moving on. Man stabs wife to death at Nyantreniase.
I wonder what is over.
So, a 40-year-old man alleged to have killed his pregnant wife on suspicion of infidelity is on the run. So
crimes of passion.
I know, right?
You know, yesterday,
keep hearing these things.
There were.
I'm saying we keep
hearing. Yeah,
we keep
yesterday there was a conversation that was going on social media about how relationships are a big factor in mental health problems.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
Because you have issues and you're struggling, and you're living with a person.
Yeah,
or even if you're not living with a person, it's because it's so dear to your heart.
Yeah.
It matters a lot to you.
And so close, yeah. Now, almost a major cause of, maybe we should have a conversation on relationships and maintaining your mental health.
Yep.
I wish they taught things like that in school to our children. I mean, schools can't do everything. Parents have to do something. But I wish it was something that we were really... Have you taught your boys about, loving a woman and not being toxic and not, having boundaries and we're focused so much on getting them to university.
We haven't got into that, but I feel that it's about how they see me relate with my wife.
Yeah.
So, they learn a lot more by observing than you telling them. So you observe, and then when you tell them, it makes a lot more sense.
A lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Please, we'll come and learn something.
Anytime. No, you though. I mean, you're a grandma yourself, so.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Securities and Exchange Commission engages law enforcement agencies. The Securities and Exchange Commission has interacted with some selected personnel of the Criminal Investigations Department and the Economic and Organized Crime Office in Accra as part of strategies to collaborate and fight operators of Ponzi schemes, such as the World Remit one that the Bank of Ghana has been talking about in recent times. So avoid them. We've talked about this a number of times. If you don't avoid them and they chop your money, if you come to JoyNews that you want us to do a story about it, we'll ignore you because you have ignored the Bank of Ghana advice.
Okay.
All right. Locked up funds choke rural banks. That's in business. 500 million cedis still unpaid. Wow. BOG urged to intervene. So an amount of 457.86 million, which constitutes 71% of the validated investment, is still locked up with investment companies. This banking crisis. The impact has been so huge, and looks like we haven't gotten over that yet. Another bullion van robbed in Takwa. Wow, there were no fatalities as the armed men robbed at ease. Wow. So amid sporadic shooting, 2 armed robbers yesterday morning robbed a bullion van of more than 107,000 cedis in front of a market in the center of Takwa in the western region. The robbers were said to have trailed the bullion van, which arrived at the Ransford Super Shopping Market at about 9 a.m. to collect weekend sales to the bank. One of the robbers was said to have disguised himself as a shopper with a gun on him. Wow. Thought some measures have been put in place to curb these things. All right. In sports, Dogbe fights Diaz in US on November 20. Queens arrive in Lagos for Falcons clash tomorrow. And President Akufo-Addo to start Queen's baton relay. And on the back page, seaweed floods Western Coastline. Communities call for help. Hypertension, diabetes cases increase in Accra Metro, which is a story.
I don't think we have any more time to do any more stories. Do we have time to do My Joy Online? Okay, right. Let's go to myjoyonline.com and quickly go through the stories there. Okay, so top story on myjoyonline.com. A flimsy excuse should not be given for denial of visa to MPs. Sam George calls out the Netherlands ambassador. Interesting.
There's been some back and forth between the two of them, actually.
Yeah, there hasn't there? Okay, I never promised to build a harbour in Cape Coast, that's according to Akufo-Addo. NDC caucus begin audit of MPs, review refused visa to establish whether it is linked to anti-GLBTQ+. Funny face arrested after threatening to kill his baby mama and commit suicide.
You know, this story, a friend of mine who's a psychiatric nurse called me from the US yesterday, and she was so passionate about Funny Face's case. She feels that Funny Face, you know, he said a lot of things and insulted a lot of people, including Adebayo and Bolore and people who have supported him in the past. And she feels that he's having issues, as in it's a psychiatric issue or a mental health issue. And she feels that if the people around him, those people he's insulted, including Father Dixon, would not ignore him and rather come to his aid, they could make him better. They
could. And I'm a bit worried about this arrest, because arrest to where? You know, to police stations? Is it for rehabilitation? Will there be psychological assessments?
They've indicated there's going to be psychiatric assessments.
Okay, that's
then they will decide what to do. With
okay.
him. But yeah, maybe I'll see if my friend will be willing to speak, but she spoke so passionately about it. Yeah.
Maybe we should try and talk to him at some point as well. JUSAC to embark on nationwide strike on October 28. Commander Sugar Factory to be operationalized by March 2022. Did the MPP promise to build a harbour in Cape Coast or not? Well, Akufo-Addo says not so. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell dies of COVID complications. All right, that's myjoyonline.com. We're going to go to sports in a little bit after the break, but before we go on that break, we have this for you to listen to.
And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbour in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast.
Emphatic statements from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when a new patriotic party launched a 2020 manifesto. His statement was captured in page 160. Residents of Cape Coast have been eager for the harbour project.
All right, so the question that comes up is, the president said, I never promised you a harbour.
They didn't have a conversation. You know, that's what happens in a relationship.
No. So he says, I never promised you a harbour.
I promised you a London site.
And then the vice president says, we're going to build a harbour.
No, but it's the vice president who said it first. And then the president said, I didn't promise. They didn't communicate. That means so.
They didn't communicate. So
there was a lack of communication.
It's in the manifesto. I mean, we can pull up the page in the manifesto.
Well, I'm just saying. So are you saying the president is lying? Israel, oh my God. So are you saying the president is lying?
Is saying, I never promised you.
He didn't. Yeah, but of course, the vice president speaks for him. There's so many. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. Anyway, the most important thing is that Cape Coast is not getting an airport. You're getting a London site.
No, you're
not getting a harbour.
You're getting a
London. It's a London site and airport.
No.
Exactly, because he didn't say an airport. He said a London site.
No, so there's an airport too. There's an airport in the works. So that's for the airport.
He said he didn't say airport. He said London site.
No, airport. That's for the airport. They're getting it. It's a harbour that he said he didn't promise.
2072.
Work will start soon.
Okay, work will start soon. We remain hopeful in this country. Something you don't have to remain hopeful about, because it's definitely going to happen, is the sports right after this.